Hello, all you starfaring cosmonauts. As always, I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be reviewing Starpoint Gemini Warlords, which is the latest installment into the Starpoint Gemini series. It is essentially a third-person RPG freeform sandbox 4X strategy hybrid mashup, brought to you by Little Green Man Games and published by Iceberg Interactive. The game is literally a mashup of a multitude of genres, basically pumped into an open world sandbox game. And what this culminates into is a game that allows you to do a multitude of things and has a lot of elements to its core gameplay. So at its core, you have a third-person capital space sim, basically, where you're taking your capital ship around fighting, doing quests, looting salvage, mining, all of that kind of thing, taking on freelance quests, taking on story missions. And then you also have an RPG progression system for your character, so you can upgrade your character's points and stats, and you gain perks and skill points to upgrade certain abilities. You can choose a class upon character creation, and then you also have 4X strategy elements. So once you are at a certain point in the game, you're able to expand your faction, and you do this by taking other territories, and you can build fleets, and you can basically order them to do various things. You have resource management in the game, you have base building in the game, you have research and technology in the game. Then you can also not only send a fleet off to attack another enemy fleet, but you can directly lead that fleet, so you can just basically attach them to your capital ship and they will follow you into battle. And there's so many elements to Starpoint Gemini Warlords that it's actually quite overwhelming when you first start. Luckily, if you choose a scenario like the campaign, which features the tutorial, the game will ease you in over time to all its various elements. The problem is that you have so many elements here, you have so many bits of other genres just punched and pumped into one single product, that you often feel that each individual part of this game doesn't really flesh out its ideas as well as it could. As a whole, it is a really interesting and fantastic product, I have to say. I'll get into the negatives in a moment, but the sum of its parts is really, really good. It is much better than the previous installments of Starpoint Gemini. If you remember games like Freelancer and, like I said, Rebel Galaxy, it's much better than those games. There is a lot more depth here. But the problem is with the game is that it lacks a certain amount of polish. It is buggy as all hell, and the control system is god awful, and I mean god awful. The controls in this game really let down, probably the biggest flaw in my opinion. It is not a solid control system. It is very poorly designed. It's not intuitive. There's a lack of keyboard and mouse support. I feel that it's clunky, it causes problems with the camera, which directly affects things like combat. And while you get used to the bad controls within the game, it's not something that you can ever really overlook. You can still certainly enjoy the game to a good degree, but it's always going to be a niggling issue at the back of your mind. There's always going to be a point in some fight where the camera spazzes out. There's always going to be a point where you overshot, or you can't turn correctly, or you hit the wrong hotkey because they're not displayed correctly in the HUD. And there's just multiple issues with the controls like that, and it's the same for keyboard and mouse as it is with the controller. And it's just a really poorly designed control system that it just really pulls down the rest of the product. Now, like I said, there are also bugs in the game, and there are plenty of them to be had. Never really had anything game-breaking in there, but certainly things that are noticeable. Definitely could have used more polish as well. Not only is the performance jarring at times, but the visuals aren't really that amazing to look at. Sure, they look nice from time to time, but then there are times where there's just noticeable issues, and overall the performance just needs to be ironed out in a big way. Aside from those issues though, and once you get past that initial hurdle, what you end up finding is Mountain Blade in space, very literally. You start off with nothing, you build that up, you save up money, you save up your resources, and eventually you can start to take your faction into an empire. You're talking about researching new technologies for new weaponry, new items, all that kind of thing. Then building ships, building literal fleets of ships to defend your territory. The enemy will actively try and take back territory and take your territory as well. You're talking about, a randomly generated mission system within the freelancer to earn money. You're talking about being able to fly, into this huge world, go wherever you want, do whatever you want. If you want to mine, you can mine. If you want to trade, you can trade. If you want to fight, you can fight. And it's really up to you about how you go about making your faction bigger, how you go about progressing your character, how you want to focus that character, whether you want to focus on combat, whether you want to focus on fleet management, whether you want to focus on empire building. It's completely up to you. Now, each part of this game works very well. I think that there are things that could have been improved. I didn't think that there was enough depth in the character progression system. There wasn't enough classes. I think that the ship designer could have been a little bit better and could have really had a system that fundamentally changed the way ships look depending on what parts you put on them. You could also have expanded the 4X strategy side of things by, yes, you have empires and territory, but I think a little bit more in depth would have been a lot of fun. So you're talking about colonies and systems, as well as a better system to take on multiple tasks for your civilian fleets, who are basically your resource collectors. I would have liked an option to automate that system a little bit more. I think that would have been a nice quality of life thing just to have in there for players who don't really want to spend loads of time keep going to the map back and forth to assign different tasks. Overall, I have to say that Starpoint Gemini Warlords has one thing really going for it. It's that it's addictive as all hell. It's really exceeded, I think, what I envisioned for the game. I think that it holds some very serious flaws, and inherent flaws at that. But that being said, it is an improvement on the previous installments. It is a game that is in short supply in the sci-fi universe. I mean, how many times do we get freelancer-style games? Not regularly. And I think that it's a game that has potential for the future. If they take this core concept and fix the issues for the next game and really flesh out some of those elements of the gameplay, what you could end up having is probably one of the best open world sandbox genre hybrid mashups of all time. It is literally Mount and Blade in space. If you enjoy Mount and Blade, and Mount and Blade is, again, it has really good parts, but again, it was a game that had serious flaws. So for me, it is certainly worth checking out. It's at, $35 on Steam at the moment. I think that if you're going to be put off and really irritated by bad controls and that kind of thing, then certainly wait for a sale. That's for a definite. However, if this is right up your alley and you love this type of game, you love the previous Starpoint Geminis, you love, Freelancer, you like Rebel Galaxy, you like Mount and Blade, or you like the idea of a Mount and Blade in space, then it's certainly worth picking up for $35. I mean, there's hours and hours and hours and hours worth of content here. A little bit grindy sometimes, needless to say, but there's still loads of content, and it is a very enjoyable game once you get past its rough edges. And that is my review for Starpoint Gemini Warlords. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, and definitely share it on social media. And as always, I will see you next time.